A top-tier analyst who's been knee-deep in crypto cycles for years steps up and lays it all out, revealing why the entire market has been dead wrong about XRP's price trajectory, with the fresh ETF launch stirring up drama and prices dipping despite massive inflows. It's got everyone scratching their heads. But this expert's breakdown flips the script, showing how short-term noise is blinding folks to the real explosion. Brewing detractors are quick to call it a bust. Bitcoin maxes are smirking as usual. But guys, think about it. They've been wrong before, dismissing XRP as irrelevant while it quietly builds the backbone of global finance. This could be the wake-up call that turns skeptics into believers, and I'm fired up to break down why the truth might just shatter expectations. Let's unpack this layer by layer, connecting the dots across the crypto landscape, analyzing XRP's pivotal role, and exploring how this all feeds into the bigger picture of market misconceptions on pricing. Let's dive straight into piecing this puzzle together, because this isn't about chasing hype. It's about dissecting the connections in the crypto world and XRP's role, analyzing what it means for this eye-opening theme of everyone being so off base on pricing, starting with the bombshell from this analyst who's crunched the numbers on everything from tokenization to supply dynamics, arguing that XRP isn't capped at the lowball figures people throw around. It's geared for trillions, not billions, if adoption hits critical mass. We've got reports from heavyweights like TradingView highlighting how XRP could break to $36 this cycle alone based on wave extensions and chart patterns that scream undervaluation. That's not wild guessing. It's rooted in historical cycles where assets like this coil up before blasting off. The global tokenized assets market projections from sources like the MLI Fool and Crypto Potato are buzzing about how XRP's ETF debut pulled in $245 million on day one, smashing records for 2025 launches. Yet the price sank 8% in a classic sell the news move. Guys, the real estate sector alone is valued at $4,650 trillion globally, and tokenizations barely touched 0.01%. 0.01%. Imagine if XRP bridges even a sliver of that shift. It's like the dot-com era all over again. Early doubters laughed, but the infrastructure plays ended up dominating. Think back to how Amazon was dismissed as just an online bookstore. Now it's the everything store. XRP could be that for cross-border value transfer, undervalued because the market's pricing it like a meme coin instead of the utility beast it is. And with today's price hovering around $230 after a 7.3% drop, breaking key supports amid broader market downturns, it's a prime example of how sentiment overrides fundamentals in the short term. This revelation ties directly into why everybody's been so wrong. They're fixated on immediate pumps from events like the Canary Capital ETF, expecting Bitcoin-like surges overnight. But the truth exposed here is that XRP's value isn't event-driven, it's system-driven. Think about RLUSD, Ripple's stablecoin acting as that clever entry point into wholesale banking. It's not just a side project, it's the bridge allowing XRP to convert between siloed systems without triggering regulatory red flags. As of today, RLUSD's market cap is pushing past $1 billion, having crossed that milestone just days ago on November 3rd, with expansions into Dubai and Japan proving its compliance edge and a staggering 1,278% year-to-date growth. Partnerships like SBI Remit eyeing it for 2025 remittances. That's real utility kicking in where every transaction on the XRP ledger burns a fraction of XRP as gas, tightening supply over time. People assumed XRP would flop if banks stuck to their own tokens, but this expert nails it as a conversion asset, not a settlement one. XRP slips into the infrastructure layer seamlessly. Banks care about efficiency, not labels. And with sandboxes like Project Guardian in Singapore testing these inflows, the legal nods are coming. This counters the foot headin. Max's claimed XRP was dead posts, but clarity has unlocked doors, positioning it for the tokenized trillions. I've seen this play out in past cycles. Assets written off as relics suddenly surge when their foundational role clicks into place. Like how Ethereum was doubted before DeFi took off, guys. Let's reflect on the moves Ripple's been making. It's all about dodging misclassification to embed XRP in the private sphere. If it got treated like just another public token, yeah, it would be sidelined like some retail play. But framing it as infrastructure, that's the game changer. Documents from the Bank for International Settlements outline principles where XRP proves it. Operates outside direct settlement, enabling conversions without overstepping. Add in operational assurances like windowed plans and incident responses. Ripple's prepping these, and once published, it's a silent powerhouse. I dove into this thinking it'd be more hype. But connecting the regs to adoption paints a picture where XRP underpins everything, not competes. And with the ETF pulling $58 million of volume day one despite the dip, it's clear institutions are dipping toes, not diving yet. Whales sold 1.44 billion XRP last month, pressuring price from 252 to 228. But that's short term. Long term, it's accumulation before the storm. Okarimo-san, 34. Community posts highlight this, folks, noting consistent selling pressure absorbed by passive buyers, keeping price stable around $3 earlier, but warning that without aggressive buyers, it could snap lower. Crypto news by VLD. Yet that's the mispricing. Markets see speculation, not the plumbing for global value movement. One X post even jokes that BlackRock CK and Vanguard ETFs could push XRP to 518, highlighting the wild optimism amid current dips. Crypto Chad 2023. To really hammer home why the market's off, let's look at the undervaluation angle from recent studies. Babri Capital points out XRP's price doesn't match its real-world use, judged as speculative when it's infrastructure for financial systems. Articles echo this, calling it mispriced because the market treats it as an event, not a system. That's the truth exposed. Everyone's focused on hype cycles, missing the steady build. Like how railroads were undervalued in the 1800s, speculators chased gold rushes, but rails connected economies long-term. Today, with XRP down 10% post-ETF launch to around 220 by walls, it's absorbing the sell-off, but analysts see reversal if it holds key supports. The ETF's success, 250 million inflows, smashing 2025 records, contrasts the price crash, showing disconnect between institutional interest and retail panic. Here's the phenomenal part. If XRP snags even 10% of a $30 trillion tokenized market by 2030, that's $3 trillion needing bridging, justifying prices way beyond what naysayers admit. Fixed supply at 100 billion burns from Arlo's D transactions, escrows locking billions, it's deflationary magic contrasting secretive inflators, critique the hypocrisy. Bitcoin maxes bash XRP's centralization while their chain chugs on scalability, or other projects promise moonshots but deliver rugs. XRP's payments utility with sub-second speeds and pennies in fees, plus post-SEC regulator green lights sets it apart. Historical parallels. Look at 2013 to 2017 turbulence felt terminal, but it was prelude to booms. Today's 230 hangout rebounding from $2 supports amid volatility mirrors those compression phases, a coiled spring like pre-207. Analysts spot Fibonacci targets at 6 to 10 to the short term, 37 wild. But with tokenization, think Zcash's 1,775%. Surprise? XRP's community and utility dwarf that. Multi-quarter bases above trend lines scream strongest setup ever. Checkpoints at $470, $930, $1,230, short-term chaos like shutdown fears, bleeding trillions, or ETF outflows. Soundwave static catalysts like tokenization are the thunderclap. One post nails it. No downside liquidity means price gets pushed into deep areas where exchanges profit. Akarimo-san, 34. Another predicts 1,250 EOI with a miracle to 1,000 plus, praying for no delays. Shall never die, JC. Tying into the ETF saga, Canary's launch saw 245 million inflows, outperforming all 900 funds this year, but price dipped 7.8%. Why? Sell the news. Whale exits, no instant institutional flood. Yet, this exposes the truth. Everybody's wronging ETFs alone spike price. It's the setup for sustained growth. Ripple's 300-plus bank ties, RLUSD, ramping with one-to-one cash backing on XRPL/Ethereum mean more burns, scarcer supply, stables explode to $3.1 trillion. Daily transactions topping Visa regs favor them as U.S. debt-backed, but XRP's post-SEC edge bridges alts in misinformation critique. Channels hype $10,000 by 2025 sounds math, but steady climb $3 to $5 this year via ISO 2022 ETFs hundreds by 2030 on adoption maxes. Ignore XRP's crossbar prowess. Secretive flops on transparency, smart money whales accumulate dips. BlackRock KIs swell with White House buzz. Global views. Europe's sandboxes, Asia's RLUSD remittances. Psychologically, panic sells chaos, but fundamentals reassure. XRP's the hold. The bridge post warn of manipulation, keeping it undervalued. But that's the opportunity. Price way higher in reality. Habits in Day 2 projections for XRP CETFI 63.9 million. Topping Day 1's 59 million, showing momentum despite price. Views expanding ecosystems, expert nods to XLM, HAR, XDC, AVAX, Chainlink complementing XRP. XLM's retail focus, 9 billion cap undervalued with Visa, MasterCard, MoneyGram ties, HBO's 10,000 TPS, Google, IBM, Boeing Enterprises, XDC's Trade Finance, HSBC Standard Chartered, $1 billion cap, 144 times potential matching XRP, AVAC's 4.5 thousand TPS, AWS MasterCard, JVisa, Chainlink's oracles for real data BR, ing thousands ahead, not rivals, partners, Chainlink plus XRP for info, HBR for velocity, industry hypocrisy, Solana's memes tarnish, XRP builds Stealth Ripple's Palisade custody, $500 million from Fortress/Citadel, web strengthening. This interconnectedness shows XRP is not isolated. It's central mispriced because market overlooks synergies. For instance, RLUSD flipping, BK in market cap amid consolidation highlights stablecoin adoption pulling XRP along phenomenal insight. 10% global assets tokenized by 2030. $50 trillion per Ripple XRP at $473,000. Bridging conservative $30 trillion market XRP liquidity, King $16.4 trillion RWA untapped. XRPL's multi-purpose tokens compliance ready for $10 trillion. Counters FUD. Maxis say, dead, but influencers model 35 trillion cap with supply squeezed to 1,000 by 2030 at XRP_info. DCF hits 18,000, parallels 2017, compression to face melt ETF liquidity fueling escrow exhaustion in months, demand decides pricing retail out. Predictions vary, $20 to $50 by 2030 if payments accelerate, or $12.50 by 2028 per standard charted. That's the exposure market's wrong. Capping it low when utility points higher over decades. One forecast sees $446 by end 2025, $11 long-term on XRPL adoption. Crypto News by VLD, another wild one, $500 by 2035 at 70%, CAGR, pain points addressed. Misinfo breeds despair, but excitement turns. Noise fades. Boom amplifies novices. Sound waves analogy. Static to signal. Experts watch operational docs. Signal critical role. G Treasury to 13,000 banks bypassing Swift dial up to fiber post debunk never down again. But note, it doesn't revisit lows like 50 cents, always rebounding stronger. With 1 trillion, invested price could hit $25, conservative $70 to $250, realistic $250 to $600 extreme. FOMO at XRP_info. Uncertain times reassure XRP holders ahead. Global debt tokenized inevitable. Smart money dips amid $1.1 billion outflows, but products promise XRP down 42%. ATTH up 390% yearly, outshining community hypes. 11 ETFs no cap gains. Ripple IPO momentum builds an equal 4 current dip to $2.31, just absorbing pressure. No liquidity downside means upside push. Imminent institutions eyeing $4 to $8 billion from ETFs. Surge coming. XRP could surpass Visa's $600 billion cap on forecasts. ETFs institutional interest. Philosophically transformation. Inevitable. Crypto empowers despair to opportunity. By 2030, XRP redefines value bridging worlds. Guys, legacy we're building, keep connecting empowered.